Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As you guys can see, we are in the garage today and we'll be doing an update on the Corvette. The last time you guys saw one of these Corvette videos was probably 4 or 5 weeks ago, something like that, because we've had shop updates, we've had truck updates, and did a number of projects on those. And yeah, so this is pretty much going to be the last video that we make before we go to the race out in Indiana. It is like early April right now. I think by the time you guys see this, it will be middle of May, late May, something like that. So yeah, this is pretty much gonna be the last kind of wrap up video and just kind of review what we've been doing. So first thing, you'll see that the car is on the ground. We still have the Mickey Thompson radials mounted. I have not put the factory wheels back on, and you guys will see that the car is super dirty. I still haven't cleaned it since the last video you guys saw. But one of the first updates you guys will see is that we actually got the full race harness installed into the car. So I took the driver's seat out, I put the buckle clips in on the side. Then you guys will see right here in the back, we have both of the shoulder harnesses actually tied to the roll cage. So, you know, I've had these belts for 5 years and they actually expire this year. So it's kind of bad that I'm not actually installing them until they're almost expired. So, but hey, we'll at least get one good use out of them. So yeah, finally after 4 or 5 years, we finally got these harnesses installed. And to install those, the only thing I really needed help on was looping the belts around the roll cage correctly. And they had a really good video on YouTube, and it was like just a 40-second clip of just going up, down, you know, around, just making sure it's looped correctly. So I followed their methodology and we got that all tightened up. Now, I have not done the whole zip tie cleanup method. And what that is basically any leftover racing harness, you basically roll up into a circle and then you put a zip tie around it and you just kind of zip tie it up out of the way. I haven't done that in the back. I will do that eventually, but you know, that's just one thing, TBD. So, and down here you will see a light. You'll see we have both panels installed. And that is kind of the under dash kick panel, whatever you want to call that. That's actually brand new, well, new use to me, because the old one kind of got destroyed when I had taken it out. I forgot we installed something in there. Maybe it was the Aeroforce gauges or running the wiring for the HP tuners, something like that. So, and the one thing you won't be able to see is that safety clip from GM. It's basically a clutch pedal or a brake pedal safety clip that basically holds the brake rod coming out of the booster to the pedal itself. It's a fairly common part number. I'll have a picture of it here. When I had taken the factory brake booster off, that went flying and I literally haven't found it. I pulled the carpet up, I looked up under the dash, I have no idea where it went. So I picked up one off Amazon. I'll include a part number down below for that. So, and the best way to get to that is actually by taking the driver's side seat out. I had to take the seat out anyway to install the BonecrrusherSS mounts for the harnesses. So I just took that out, took that panel off, actually it wasn't in there, put that safety clip in, put that panel in, and that pretty much wrapped up everything under the dash. Now, as far as everything else on the car, I told you I was gonna do an alignment. The front end actually ended up being perfect. Like somehow, even removing the spindle and steering knuckle on the driver's side, the alignment was within spec. It was, I can't remember if it was an 1/8 of an inch towed in or towed out. It's one of those two. And so it ended up being perfect. I had no adjustment on the front suspension. As for the rear, this side was fine, but that side, the passenger side rear, was actually kicked in like almost 1/2 inch, something like that. Like you can literally stand above the car and see the wheel like cocked in like that. So it was towed in. So I basically undid the after dark speed rear tie rods, loosened it up, got it to where I thought it looked straight. Then I did an alignment after that, and we got that within, it's either 1/8 inch towed in, I think it's an 1/8 inch towed in, and I think the front is an 1/8 inch towed out. And then the last part was when we did the alignment in the back, the steering wheel actually ended up being to the left. I think I'll have a picture of that here. That was a real simple adjustment. We've done an alignment video before. Basically, you just jack up the front of the car, loosen the jam nuts, and I turned both sides to the left 4 half turns, and they got it lined up perfectly. I've gone on multiple test drives since then, And you know, that got us our steering wheel straight. The next update was actually up here under the hood. You guys will see we added a check valve. I apologize for all the dirt and pollen on here. But we basically added a check valve on the line going from the catch can around the supercharger, check valve, and then that goes right into the snout of the blower. Now, the reason we added that was because when I was doing those test drives, testing out the brakes, the car seemed to be almost hanging RPM, if that makes sense. It's kind of weird. It's almost like, since we added a whole bunch of vacuum lines and everything, it's almost like the car, when you put it in neutral or when you were slowing down, the engine RPM did not want to come back down. So I don't know if that was a vacuum source error or whatever. And the car was idling terribly. I actually thought it was the O2 sensors taking like 5 minutes to get hot and warm up. No, it was actually this vacuum line that we're talking about going from the catch can around the blower and into the side of the supercharger. I double checked the instructions that Synergy sent to us about the catch can, and it specifically said if you do not have an LS9, I think what they're talking about is a dry sump, need to add that check valve. So, and since we installed that check valve, the idling isn't being weird and the car isn't trying to hang. And what I'm trying to say is, like, the RPM, it's not like taking a long time to slow down. It's slowing down properly. It's coming back down like it normally does. So, and yes, guys, the car is disgusting. I know it is. I would wash it right now, but guys, the Carolinas are having the worst pollen and spring allergy season ever. I think Georgia had a pollen count of 14,000. I think normally it's like 8,000 or 9,000, so it's almost double. And the Carolinas are just as bad. I'm not sure if it's tree or pollen, but one of them is like astronomical. It's the highest it's been in like 30 years. So yeah, because I've lived here for about 20 years. I've never seen the pollen this bad. And if you guys want proof of the pollen, I'll show you. This car stays inside. It does not go outside. If you guys can see these yellow deposits here, that is all pollen within the beadlock. Both sides of the wheel, there's even pollen right there on the inside of the wheel. These are brand new wheels. I just opened them up a couple months ago, and the car, like I said, the car stays in the garage. It doesn't sit outside. And I think I'd mentioned in the last video that we were gonna lift the car up and actually bump the X-pipe back 1/4 of an inch. And I was actually able to do that without taking the car all the way apart. All that I did was I removed the clamps for the mufflers. Those sit about here. I removed the clamps in the middle of the X-pipe, and I simply just kind of tapped on it a little bit, sprayed it down with some PB blaster, let it sit for a while, and just tapping on it a little bit, I was able to push everything back 1/4 of an inch, and that everything lined up pretty well. The only thing that didn't line up was one of the clamps in the back on the driver's side. It was trying to hit the transmission. So what I did was I clocked it a different way and actually flipped the bolt to the other side, and it's not gonna hit anything anymore. So, and for the last update tonight is going to be the fuel. So you guys will know that we've been running E85 in this car in the past, but we've ran out of injector, we've ran out of ECM that can control that injector. So what I've done is gone ahead and picked up 10 gallons of Sunoco 260 GT. It's 100 octane, it's unleaded, and it won't harm your catalytic converter or your O2 sensor. Yes, so we do still have cats, and we obviously need the O2 sensors. Plus, I just spent a crap ton of money on a new wideband sensor. I don't want to ruin that. I think it was like 100, was it 100, 150? It was expensive. So yeah, so that racing fuel that we just picked up from Sunoco, actually I picked it up at a Sam's Express, something like that. Sam's, it's a chain down here in the Carolinas. I don't know if they're anywhere else, but Sam's Express sells gas. They also have like a car detailing business, so a car wash. So yeah, so I picked that up at a Sam's Express gas station. And so yeah, that place was about 20 minutes from the house. I called them, they did sell it. If you guys want to pick up VP Racing, for me, it's an hour to the nearest place. Also, E85 is an hour to the nearest place. So it's kind of like, you know, go with Sunoco. It's not as well known in the racing community versus in the drag racing and all that. So I always see buckets of VP or MS100 or MS109. And the MS109 is about $106 for each one of those pails. I paid roughly $92 after tax for those each. So yeah, I never thought I'd miss E85, but when you spend almost $200 for, it wasn't quite 200, but 180 $9 for 10 gallons of gas, yeah, that hurts. So I may actually pick up a third one of those, and we'll kind of just make a choice at the venue what we want to do, whether we kind of just dilute our 93 or we just run that stuff straight. Because basically the reason I bought that is I just want to prevent detonation, and if we can do that by running a better fuel, you know, I'm all for it. So, because right now I really want this whole setup, the LS9, the Forge 6-liter, I want that to stay together and hold together because, yeah, I can't do another motor this year. We actually are still waiting for the LT4 to come back from the machine shop. So now I do have one more update. And this update is actually in regards to the Haltech ECU. Now I had mentioned in the Haltech video that I was going to be looking at a guy to tune it remotely. That was going to be tuned by Sean. And he is up in Minnesota, I think, somewhere in Minnesota. He was on, is it the Minoxide or NOS Oxide? I think it's Minoxide podcast. I caught his video there. I'd already known about him, and then I saw a podcast on it, so I watched that. And the guy seemed real knowledgeable about the ECU. So Sean just released a plug-and-play Haltech Rebel LS or Haltech, I think it's the Nexus S3 ECU for the C6 Corvette. Now, that I saw that, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I have the ECU. Maybe I can just buy the jumper harness, the interpolation box, because I think he's running some kind of GM CAN to Haltech CAN translator. I think there's like a translator box in that. I was like, sweet. Then I looked at it, and I think the ECU only had 2 plugs. I know for a fact the E40 ECU has 3 plugs, or it's one of them has 2, one of them has 3. I forget the E40 versus E38. I messaged Sean and I said, hey, will that work with the 2005 E40? And unfortunately, no. It's only currently designed for the 5th gen Camaro, the E38 in the C6 Corvette, and I bet that would work with the Holden, the Commodore, the VE, the VF. So the Pontiac G8 and the Chevy SS. They haven't done that yet, but someone obviously broke the E38 code, and I'm like 98% sure that the Holdens, the G8 and the SS, both have that E38 ECM. So if you got a newer car, the Rebel LS will literally be plug and play. So what does that mean for us? I messaged Sean about, hey, if you need a 2005 to look at, I will ship you my car. I said, I have no problem sending you the car, let you figure out the CAN system, and if you want to do an install on it, you know, let me know. He messaged me back and he said, hey, I actually have a car coming in 3 weeks. So like today's like April 2nd, I think. So I think by the end of April, we will know if the 2005 is a candidate for his system, because so he's basically going to take the 2005. I think he's going to scan it, scan the network, scan everything, and see if it can even be compatible with the Haltech and his plug and play kit. Obviously, there's going to be wiring differences. I know that for a fact that the E40 and E38 are wired differently. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I don't know how much CAN is on this car because, like I said, it's a 1 of 1 year. It's a weird transition from the C5 to the C6. So yeah, I'll basically hit him up at the end of April, early May, and see what his outcome is. And if it's something that he'll make a kit for, obviously I'll buy it. It is a lot of money. I think the kit with the ECU, the plug and play, and everything was about like $4,300. But I think someone said somewhere that if you buy just the harness and the box, and I think you wire up the ABS, I think that's like $2,500. I would be, I'd be totally game to buy something, a couple grand. I'm totally fine with that, because just not having to deal with interpolating between the car harness, the engine harness, and the factory engine harness. You've got 3 harnesses that you've got to jump and move wires and probe, and I just don't want to deal with it. If there's a plug and play option out there, we will definitely be buying that. So now I know that was a lot of talking about the ECU, but I was super excited for it, and then kind of like, but it is what it is, and maybe down the road this will eventually be a plug and play kit. But by the time we would even be ready to install that ECU, it would be June, July at the earliest, I'm thinking. And yeah, so I'm totally willing to wait a couple more months because I'm not in a hurry. Like, we've got the race in middle of May. After that, I pretty much don't need the car. So, and that actually just reminded me, we do actually have 2 more updates for the Haltech. I went to Lowdoller Motorsport. That's who made this kit. You guys can see the little logo right there, Lowdoller. They sell a combined pressure and temp combo. So what this is a engine coolant temp sensor that also has pressure in it. So if I screw up the head gasket, I will know about it because this has a pressure transducer in it, and it'll send that information to the ECM. I can set up a safety to the Haltech and have that display, or send a warning, whatever. And yeah, so that's another thing. I want to say this sensor was like $90 some, and where this will go, this will actually go on the passenger side head. There's a plug right there now, but we would remove that, screw this in, and then we'd have to make our own harness. 2 of the wires would plug into the Haltech harness for the engine coolant temp sensor, and then I think I'd have to run my own 2. One will be the pressure sensor, the other one will be a ground. Run that, kind of through the harness or adjacent to the harness out to a ground, and then one to the ECU. So that's another update. And then right behind it, you guys will see this is a IAT sensor. This is actually a fast acting IAT sensor. And I actually saw this sensor in one of the ZR1 groups, and people were like, oh yeah, it's fast acting. It'll basically react faster than the GM one right there. And it's just more accurate. So found this, I think it was like $23, $24 shipped, picked it up from Ballinger, and then Ballinger actually provides you the inputs to put into the ECM. So that'll be another thing to do when we go to the Haltech, is add this pressure sensor, add this fast acting IAT sensor, and yeah, so that's another thing to consider whenever we do this swap is, we're kind of using up some of our inputs and outputs. And so yeah, that is all the updates that have been going on for the Corvette. I apologize for talking a lot, but we had a lot to get through. And yeah, so if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. If you guys want to see what this thing will run in the half mile, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on your bell notifications, because our next Corvette video will be the half mile event. And if you guys want to help support the channel, check out all the links down below. Any of the tools, any of the things we talked about today, the ECU, those sensors, we'll have part numbers for all that. Also, make sure you check out our website, BonecrrusherSS.com. We have all that new Corvette merch on there, the ZR2 merch, all that's been recently dropped, and you guys can go pick that up. And yeah, that's going to be it. Thanks, guys. Have a great one.